I want to share a few ideas I have around the idea of building a big business, but without funding. And I shared a previous video a little while ago all about resisting funding. I just think the whole really interesting thing about entrepreneurs is they have a way of doing things. And the second you get funding in, you have to compromise your way of doing things to complement your investors. And there's something really, really interesting about a self-funded entrepreneur that essentially does what they want. Sometimes that can be bad, but sometimes that can be like art. It can be really, really beautiful. And I think entrepreneurs should try and really strive to be self-funded and to self-govern the success and route of their business. Anyways, that becomes pretty challenging when you have a big idea. And it's also really challenging when you look at all the other businesses out there. The key thing to remember is that when you look at a business, chances are it's been founded for 10 years or 5 years or whatever it is. And so the key is not to look at the business for where it is right now, but to look at how the business started. So to layer it back over the years. So this was it in year 1, this was it in year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. And the fact is, as that business progresses, it opens up more opportunities for itself. So winding it back down to its origin is really interesting. Now, even at origins, some businesses need big funding. But perhaps if you have an idea that needs funding in its initial sense, there's a way of looking at it and saying, well, okay, I could do this, that could make a bit of money, that could lead to this, that could make a little money, that could lead to this, that could make a little money, that could lead to that, which is that business that needed funding in its original sense. And this, in an almost unrecognizable state, complements this in its end state, but can be started from the very get-go. And once it gets to a certain point, it allows financing to move to this state, which again complements this, and so on and so forth. So what does that look like? I want to open up a cafe. Okay, well, right. You want to open up a cafe, you're going to need 50 grand, 100 grand, whatever it is. That's pretty intimidating. Think about that cafe. What's going to make it really outstanding? Well, I have a granny's cookie recipe that's absolutely outstanding. Okay, well, why don't I start with the cookies? Cookies is a little bit less intimidating. I can make it here, in my home, I could sell it in a farmer's market. There's no real barriers to entry on that. All right, I'm going to brand these cookies with the idea of this future cafe in mind. I'm going to create the cookies. I'm going to sell them in the farmer's market. I'm going to build revenue from that. Do you know what? I'm just going to set up a basic stall in the initial sense. But as that business progresses, I'm actually going to get a more involved stall and I'm going to introduce coffee as well. But it's going to be self-funded from the cookies. So the cookies lead to the coffee and the greater stall. And hell, that means I'm able to do twice the amount of business. And so that stage 1 to stage 2, well, stage 2 to stage 3 goes twice as fast. And that third stage might be, do you know what? I'm actually going to set up space in an existing unit. So I'm not going to have my own unit, but because I've got built up such a business and such a reputation, I could actually take a unit in somebody else's store. And I'm going to refine my business there. And that then is going to open up the doors to self-fund my own unit, my own cafe. And so I've been thinking a lot about what's the zero barrier to entry, self-funded step 1 to step 2 to step 3 to step 4. And when I mean self-funded, I'm meaning like less than £1,000 being put in at the start. Right? How do I start something with £1,000 and mostly my own fucking hard work? And we get that to stage 2 to stage 3 to stage 4. Anyway, I just wanted to share that because I think you learn a huge amount if you can start at the absolute bones of something. And you skip over a lot of those lessons if you skip and get big funding. And oftentimes what happens is when people skip stages, they fall back. And I think it's really, really sad, obviously, when that happens. So rather than seeing people fall back, maybe perhaps opening up ways of getting started at the initial sense is really, really key. That's something that's kind of roaring loud in my head as I'm looking at new ideas. And so I wanted to share it with you.